Hey, everybody. Welcome to Spotlight, a podcast where we shed some light on people in the baseball and softball community. This could be anyone from players, coaches, entrepreneurs, or anyone that has an interesting story that we can learn from. Our guest today is probably one of the people I've known the longest in the baseball industry, has such a crazy story, and I'm sure almost all of you have heard about him by now. His name is Josh Shapiro. He's the founder and CEO of Baseball Lifestyle 101. They are the fastest growing baseball apparel company in the world. Josh started Baseball Lifestyle as an Instagram account when he was just 15 years old. He grew the account to 550,000 followers and a thriving online apparel company in just a couple years. I've watched it since day one. It is super impressive, and I'm glad we've gone through a lot of this stuff together and had a really cool friendship from it. So Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, other Josh. It's two Joshes going on right now. So I appreciate you for having me, man. But you're not wrong, dude. We've known each other for a long time. So this will be it's like the first time I've actually sat down, probably had this kind of conversation to other people, but I know you've had this conversation internally. So it's going to be fun, man.
Yeah, I'm like, there's been so many conversations we've had probably over the past like 5 years where I'm like, I wish we just recorded that for like posterity, just because we've been like side by side for so long. And we're definitely going to get into like Plate Crate was built off the back of your Instagram account. So it's like all the Plate Crate, people and customers and followers, like they have BL 101 and you to thank for a lot of that.
Yeah.
But we'll get into all of it. I'm pumped we're finally sitting down, pressing record. So usually how I start everything off is just a little background for context. So can you tell us where you're from and just how'd you get into baseball in the first place?
Yeah. So from Long Island, New York, born and raised here. So for me, the background of baseball, man, it starts from like my first word was ball out of my mouth. Like it was like I feel like it was all like a destiny, like this whole thing. My parents actually met at not City Field, at Shea Stadium at the time. So like again, baseball was like been in my blood. I feel like it's been ingrained. So from an early age, between my mom and my dad, just watching the game. My dad just gave me a swing the bat around. I actually showed me a video the other day of me like 4 years old, just swinging in the court. So like, it's always been a part of it. My dad and my mom are super into the game. So it's really just from them. So like they originally got me into the game of baseball, and obviously still very involved in the game of baseball throughout, my whole journey. Ended up playing college baseball is where I got to from collegiate, athletic standpoint. And then, which I'm sure we'll get into all of that, but yeah, just from an early age, man, from the parents, so I feel like is where I got the love of the game.
Yeah. I like, before every interview, I usually I go back on Baseball Lifestyles account and on your personal account. And I just saw this picture of you, like little slugger up.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
picture. And I mean, I feel like so similar to you, like in that journey, like just, I don't remember what it's like to not have baseball. So it's like when someone asks me like, how'd you get into baseball? I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. So take us into, I mean, like there's not that much of a gap between your childhood and when you started BL 101. Like usually it's like there's a high school career, there's a college career, then people go out and they start a business, but you started this in high school. So, tell us, when did you start the Baseball Lifestyle account? How old were you? Give us kind of like where you were at in life. Like
Yeah. So I was thinking about this actually last night because we're actually approaching year number 8 of having the Instagram account. So in March, I believe March 13th will be 8 years. So like we're getting there. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm 23. So like I've been doing this for like 33% of my life. I've had Baseball Lifestyle. Like I've had this, thing in my life. So to go back on that 8 years, so I started it my sophomore year of high school. I remember the exact time I did it. Again, I wish I would have documented everything, obviously, back then, but it was me and my buddy Tristan. We were on the couch. The Jackie Robinson movie was just 42, was just coming out. Like I vividly remember everything. We were at his house, and I was just like, let's just make it. I think I was literally sleeping over his house. I was like, yo, I'm gonna make an Instagram account. There's a bunch of Twitter accounts at the time, but nothing on Instagram. And that's where I feel like my generation like gravitated towards Instagram when it was very early, because I think it came out in 2011, 2010, and the Instagram came out in 2013 for us. So I started it, and literally it was just like for fun. Like again, I was super obsessed with the game of baseball. Like that's my life. Like kids knew that in high school. Like I was just the baseball kid. And like that's my personality. I'm very like, I wouldn't say obsessive, but like when I'm into something, like I'm all into it. Which is why BL is what I feel like it is today. So yeah, just started the Instagram account, did it for fun. 15 years old, now 23. And fast forward a little bit, I'm working out and to play high school, college baseball, and my strength was I was like, I had 5,000 followers. I'm like, hey Bill, can I like put flyers up in the gym so kids can follow the account? And I remember the ghetto. I put it all over my baseball facility. It was like a ghetto flyer. It was like this gray piece of paper with like a different logo and just follow us, right? And he's like, yeah, of course. So he wanted to know a little bit more about it. So I told him all about it. And I was like, hey, like I really want to start clothing, because again, I want to represent who I am off the field with baseball clothing. So I was like, I'm gonna make a clothing brand. He's like, right now, he's like, well, started breaking down to me like, now we know today, right? Conversion rates and if you get X amount of people to buy a shirt, you're really gonna only get like 10, 15 people to buy a shirt, and you're gonna be super, disappointed and like kind of like push it to the side and forget about all this. So I was like, you know what? He's like, build a brand, build a community, and just start building a following, and then you could do whatever you want with it when you get to that point. If clothing's still a thing, then clothing's still a thing. So again, not to dive too deep into that story, but just started building the Instagram, posted 12 times a day, every single day. What's up?
Oh no, I think we had a little lag there. No, I mean keep talking about that, because you can go into that story. That's what this podcast is for. I want people to know exactly the story behind it, because most people think like it's apparel. Like you had apparel in your mind from day one, and you always had that in the back of your mind, but you're like community first. So I mean, keep going with that. How did you build that community? You were posting 6 times a day. How many times a day were you posting? What kept driving you to build this community?
Yeah, so I was posting 12 times a day, actually. I was posting every single hour on the hour from 9 a.m. Well, or really 12 p.m. or like 9 a.m. to 12, really all depended. But like, and if people don't know, like now you could draft stuff up, you could schedule stuff up. Like 2013, there was no video on Instagram. It was, you had to find photo, create the caption, and then like actually genuinely post it. And I still post all of our stuff, but I now can draft it and then just press and go. But dude, I was doing this all in high school. So like I'd be in math class posting, I'd be in science class posting, I'd be in gym class posting, and I wouldn't miss. Like my mind is like a mental clock now. Like I know when it's 12 o'clock, I know when it's 5 o'clock, because I'm like, I've been on this for 8 years of posting at these specific times. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And like I'm like 85% accurate on these times over 8 years. Like I guarantee you, it's freaking wild. Like my friends will be like, dude, how'd you get this posted? I didn't even see you do it. It's 8 o'clock. I'm like, I'm just boom, boom. I'm over it. It's done. Wait. Yeah. So I was posting all the time. And of course, I was dealing with like teachers yelling at me in class, like, hey, put your phone away. And I was kind of a sarcastic, no, like I was like, hey, listen, I'm working. And they would be like, what do you mean you're working? And I was like, I'm doing this thing. And I'll get on a teacher story because it's very cool what happened with that. But yeah, posting 12 times a day. Again, it's like a TV show. You expect your show to be on at 8 o'clock. It's got to be posted at 8 o'clock. So that's the way I looked at it. And so I've done that. I think there's 18,000 posts now on BL over 8 years. Mm-hmm. So like I've just been doing that. So for building the brand up, it was consistency. I was a 15-year-old kid talking to other kids. So like they genuinely felt what I was feeling. So I was posting stuff that I would want to see. Bill's big proponent was give stuff away. So from early on, like we've given away the most stuff out of any single baseball brand in the history of baseball brands, because we've been doing it since 2013. But like giving stuff away, I was getting a lot of things for free from other companies from doing advertising. Like remember when me and you were doing stuff, right? So yeah, exactly. So I was getting stuff for free, but then once it got to the point where I had everything I needed, it was like, well, now what do I do with this stuff? And Bill was like, give it away. So I would do giveaways, gain following that way. Obviously, Instagram's organic at the time was like just crazy. It's what TikTok is now. So like we were just growing to grow like 5,000-6,000 followers a week. Once we hit 10K, and I remember the exact moment I hit 10K, I was in my basement playing Call of Duty. I was like 16 years old. And I was like just scrolling, and we hit it, and I was super hyped. But like that's what kind of propelled us. Like back then, if you hit 10K, you just would like go. Yeah. So yeah, that's how the account grew. And like it was just growing rapidly. Like I said, 6,000 followers a week. By the time I got to my freshman year of college, we were over 100,000 followers. So like, again, it wasn't overnight. We weren't a viral sensation. It was consistent posting over a long period of time. And I take the same thing that I did with baseball, right? Like consistent hitting 100 balls a day will get you a better swing. Working out every day gets you better. It's no difference when it came to building BL. It was just consistent action over time, and we got all of the results that we needed.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched it since at least 2015. So, right, you started in 2013, you're posting. So I definitely want to go into the story of just how we met. Like it's not like a crazy story, but it's crazy like how long ago it was and how far I think Play Crate and BL have come since then. So, when we met, you reached out to me. Honestly, I'll go through and I'll see if I can find the like.
Oh, it's there.
I think that'd be kind of cool. You reached out and you're like, hey, I'm doing shout outs for $20. You're like, do you want one? And I remember this vividly too, right? You flash back and you have these like really vivid memories. Started Play Crate in 2015. I launched it. I was up in Maine at my buddy's like family's like cabin or something. Everyone was outside. They're like, I was just like so nervous about this. You DM'd me the day Play Crate went live. Like the day our website was like available online, you DM me, you're like, hey, do you want a shout out? And I'm like, I don't really know what a shout out is. Like it's 2015. Influencer marketing really wasn't a thing. I think you had 70 followers at that point. Which does that line up? You're probably like around 70 or 80.
It's 20. Yeah, probably around there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like $20, like let's do it. So I think I like PayPal you like $20.
You got a deal, man. You got a damn deal.
Yeah, I mean, $20 is an understatement. I mean, prices went up from there as they should have, but it just shows you how far back like this was. Like I think it's still so cool. And you posted, we got like 5 customers. Like it was like our first customers for Play Crate that wasn't friends or family. And it was like a light bulb went off. And you were the first influencer that I worked with for so long because you had such a great following that was just baseball obsessive. And like people just come to Baseball Lifestyle 101. They just see your Instagram, especially back then. I don't think anyone knew that you were posting 12 times a day for years and how much work that took. So I'm glad you went in that story because I mean, you deserve all the credit. And then yeah, $20 is a steal. Like it was a steal. I didn't know that at the time. You didn't know that at the time, but looking back on it, I mean, that's how we both launched. So I'm pumped you DM'd us for sure.
Wild, man.
Yeah. So cool, man. So you built this community, right? That was the first step. Bill told you, Bill Rom, by the way, which I would love to talk about Bill too. Bill said community first. So you actually built this community. Most people say they're going to do something, they don't do it. You're like, you know what? I'm put my focus in the community. I remember the day you posted the from your bedroom with the Cubbies and the Baseball Lifestyle hats and the shirts, and I was like, awesome! Like you're starting. Like that felt like that was the shift, right? Was that the shift?
Yeah.
I think is when you did that first round of inventory, were you like, we're now an apparel company, or were you just kind of testing the waters?
So the actual shift came when I was working with Richardson, who I still work with to this day. Because then I was like, hey guys, like for an exchange of posts, can I have like 25 hats with our logo on them? They made the hats, and I was like, can I sell these? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, sick. So I never sold anything with my logo on it before. And I actually sold the first 25 hats, not through Instagram, through Snapchat. And when I tell you I sold the 25 hats in like a minute, it was like crazy. I was like, PayPal me $25 like for the hat. Sold all the hats, and I was like, that's really weird. Like I didn't know people really wanted like our logo. So I did it again. Same thing. Then I opened up, which people don't even know, it's a Big Cartel. There was nothing at Shopify. It was Big Cartel. So it was like baseball lifestyle 101.bigcartel.com. And it was like this like really like terrible website. But I started selling stuff on the website. And then I got to the point where I was like, you know what? Like this is interesting, right? Like all these jewelry companies like yourself and just other companies kept coming back for ads. And I was like, if they're coming back for ads, like it's got to be working. Like I'm assuming they're selling stuff, and I sold hats. Yep. So like, you know what? Let me like make this site, and I'm going to curate everything that I'm already posting about in ads. I'm just going to buy it at wholesale and then sell it on my website. And that's exactly what I did. And like, I'm still super close. Like it's a similar story with, very similar story with Adam from 5 Tool Jewelry. Like he didn't have an Instagram and a business. He DM'd me like a photo of the cross. And I was like, yo, you should probably start a business with this. This is really cool. started the Instagram, did ads, sold a ton of those. And like, he's been super successful. And like, I've been selling his stuff and we've been working together since I started it. So like similar vibe. And it was actually funny that you're bringing all this up because I was on the plane flying to Arizona and I was just going all the way back. And I have like screenshots of like all of like our first like week of sales. And like what I did in a week is what we do in like an hour. Like it's something stupid now. But yeah, like once we started doing a decent amount, I was like, let me order some of this inventory. And that was like the first time I had inventory ever. And then looking back on it, it was like a joke, but I was like so excited for it because it was like this little corner of my parents' basement. And I was like, I had it all organized and like it was just super like exciting. I was packing orders on my pool table with my dad and printing out everything from the computer. I didn't have a label printer, none of that. And then we had to like slowly take over the basement. And then the basement slowly led to, hey, Bill, do you have extra space in your gym? Put some stuff in Bill's gym. And like, that's just kind of how it all grew. But like 2016, August of 2016 is when the official company was like born. Like the LLC was created, the trademark was created, the website was created August of 2016. I really say this starts 2017 because like that first August, September, October, November, December was like, I don't even know what's going on, just kind of figuring this whole thing out. So that's really how it all started. So like with the Richardson hats, when I sold those, was really like, okay, people want the logo, people want the brand, like maybe it's time to start messing around with some stuff.
Yeah, dude, I love that story. And clearly like you've come so far since then. So we have like the benefit of hindsight to kind of like break this stuff down. But I think one of the most interesting parts of looking back at businesses is, when you first start something, you're talking about like, you're excited. It's the beginning of something. 12 times a day. It's easy to respond. Most people kind of go into that. I mean, everyone kind of knows that little trough of like sorrow where you're just like, something's not working. Like, do I push forward and get to the next level of business, or do you kind of stay at this beginning level? And so many people, they just kind of stay at that beginning level. They're like, you know what, hats are good enough. I'm making a couple bucks, like shirts are fine. But you push through that stage to go to, this is obviously like, it's been your full-time gig for so long. A lot of people, they'll sell the hats, they'll sell the shirts. They'll go to college, they'll have a college career, and they'll go get a job, and it's like a really cool little side business for them, or something that they did one time. What was the difference with you? Because you didn't stop at that beginning stage. Like when stuff got hard, you didn't stop, you kept going. So, take us through, like, you went from 0 to 1, you went from nothing to something, but how'd you build that something into something really great, which I think you're at now?
Yeah, so I would attribute that to like 4 different factors. One, and I think the biggest one, I think the one internally before anything is my height. As crazy as that sounds, I'm 5'5". If I was 6'5", baseball lifestyle 101 would never be a thing. I swear to you, because I got my grit, I got my hard work, I got my, honestly, like, I'm gonna prove it wrong to you attitude from being an undersized kid trying to keep up with all the big kids. And listen, I ended up being the only kid from my grade to go play collegiate baseball. I was probably one of the small, I started my freshman year, 95 at bats, batted 280, second in the team in doubles, second in team in, all this stuff, batted in the 3-hole at 5'5", and I was probably the smallest kid in all of college baseball. Like, I swear, I was up there. I was top 5 probably. So like, I got that attitude of like, I'm going to prove you wrong from being a smaller guy. Because what many people don't know is I used to get made fun of for baseball lifestyle when I was in high school. Because like, again, now every single person has a blog, every single person has a Finsta, every single person has a fitness account. None of that was a thing. So like, me making a baseball account was like, dude, you're kind of weird. Why are you making a baseball account? Like, what is this? So like, they would make fun of me because I would post about it, whatever. And again, it was that attitude in my head, like, you know what? I'm gonna prove it wrong to you. And like, listen, man, like, and this is the deep stuff inside of you where like, I'm gonna show up to that 10-year reunion in high school in a Lamborghini with like baseball lifestyle all over, and what's up? Like, that's just me. But there's the same attitude on baseball, right? I'm gonna hit a ball 350 feet and you're not gonna, and then I'm gonna bunt and you're gonna be like, what? I can't stop this little kid. Like, I got intentionally walked my first series against Bayshore, and it was like the biggest moment ever because I was raking and they didn't want to pitch to the smallest kid on the field. And like, that's the same attitude. So I can get into that because that's where I get my fire from. Second is honestly, I have to give it to my parents because they believed in me. They never questioned why I was doing this. But also how they taught me. Like my dad was always like, if you want something, you have to pay for it yourself. So I would, he'd be like, you want to pick weeds in the backyard? I'll give you 50 cents for every weed you pick up. And I'd come back with a full bucket, right? Wash the car for $10, do this, do this. I would just do it. So like their way that they made me think about money and think about how to earn things was super important. And then when it comes to a little bit later in the story where like I was at college, I played freshman year, and then I was thinking about dropping out of school, or I was gonna pursue BL full time. Though I'll never forget, and I say this because it's like the best thing ever. My dad and my mom were like, listen, if you were gonna go get drafted out of college, we would tell you to go to the minor leagues and you can always go back to school. You got drafted in a different way, right? Baseball lifestyle is you getting drafted to the big leagues, go chase your dream, and you can always come back to school later. And to have that support from your parents, like not many people can say that. So like that was super important to me, that they believed in what I was doing. And then it leads to Bill, right? So like my dad basically was like handing me to Bill with BL, and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I work at IBM. I'm a computer programmer. I'm not a businessman. Like no one in my family is business related. They're very hard workers, but they're not business related. Mom's a teacher. And Bill, that's the next person, right? He believed in me at 15 years old. He gave me so much advice. He gave me so much of his time for nothing, like literally just to help. But like now we look back on it, he talks about it all the time. Like I had a lot of theories in my head of like where I think things were going. He's just, like he's the smartest dude I've ever met on the entire planet. Like BL can never fail because of that man and how me and him work together, because he's got these crazy ideas. He's got the smartest mind, and I'll make sure it happens. And like, that's why this is where it is. So he believed in me, he gave me so much advice. And before he became an owner, he just gave me so much, right? And he walked me through the whole process. The dude drove to Omaha, Nebraska, 20 hours without making $1 from Baseball Lifestyle 101. And he always told me, hey, when you make $1 million, I want 1%. And it was a joke. Like $1 million company was like, to a 15-year-old kid was like, oh my God. And like,
yeah, right. That's like, you could basically say $1 billion company. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's hyperbole. Like you don't know what that would even like look like.
And now we're a multi-million-dollar company. Like what? It like doesn't make sense. So like, again, that belief early on from Bill was like super important to me. And he always like put it in my head to not listen to the doubters, not listen to the haters, and just kind of keep going. So Bill was super important,
Dude, that's awesome. And I'm only recently getting to know Bill. Like we've kind of known each other, but like I just started having more calls with him, just started like talking to him more. And I'm going to like, he's going to hate, I think Bill's going to hate this, but I interviewed Ferbs the other day. I interviewed Coach Ferber, and I mean, known for nicknames. He called me Zuckerberg because I
heard
Zuckerberg. I was like, I thought you were going to say something much cooler than I sounded like Zuckerberg. And he was like, do you want to know like Josh and Bill's nicknames? I was like, of course I want to know their nicknames. And he was like, Jobs and Waz. And I was
yeah.
Like, there's no way Bill took that. Like, what a compliment. I mean, those are two of the best entrepreneurs of all time and created, probably the best company of all time. But I thought that was like the funniest thing. But like the point was that, you have been the face of the business. A lot of people don't know Bill. They don't know the impact that he's had on the business. And
yeah,
I love that you're kind of bringing to light, like, it's not just you posting all the time. Like, you've built this really great team. Not just Bill. I mean, Bill's a massive part of it, but you also work with your friends. I mean, talk to me about that a little bit. Like the second you had any type of success, you just said, I'm going to bring my friends on board. Like,
yeah.
Not everyone does that. A lot of people just say, I'm going to go hire the best person I can, or I'm going to get the cheapest person I can. But like, you're surrounding yourself with friends. Like, how did you start to build out your team and your company from that perspective?
Yeah. So real quick on Bill, which is funny, is like, again, when we went to Omaha for the first time, and this was the first time we were ever in person on a big scale, and we were like at the following that we were at, every single company thought I was a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid by myself. And all of a sudden Bill shows up and it's like, who is this guy? And like, he was always under the picture, and like, he was always just with me. And he's like, again, like, just to say, it's like, he's super humble. Like he never had to put himself out there. Like all the ideas were mine. Like, and like, I'm the first one too. Like, I'm very self-aware. Like, I'm not here without Bill, but like, we're all a team, right? So like, that was just a crazy story because nobody knew he was there until he showed up. And he's like, what's this 33-year-old guy doing with this 17? Oh, well, he was 30 at the time, whatever. What's this guy doing with this 17-year-old, 18-year-old? Like, what? Oh, there's a guy behind the scenes. Like, like it's not just this kid. And like, that's a big thing too. So now he's a super important role. People know who he is, of course. So, but the team, like, so to go back to it and keep it like how we're friends, Melissa was the first hire. Melissa, who is Bill's, they're married. Like, that's what's crazy too. It's like a whole family. Like, Bill and Melissa are married. Like, Melissa was working at a non-for-profit social media at the time. I was at Bill's gym hanging out, and she came in and like one day she was like, I could do, this, and this, and like in typical Melissa fashion, which I know, sarcastic, telling me that she could do something better. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, go ahead. And Bill was always such a good manager of like people. He'd be like, he would just tell me why that would make sense and like why the pieces fit. And I gave Melissa a shot, and she came on for like X amount of dollars and nothing crazy at all. Quit her job, and I was like a 17-year-old kid. She quit her job to work with me, and like that was the first hire, and we ran. And from there, like the team. So another Josh, obviously, so like Josh, who's like literally my brother since I was 5 years old. He helped, like he was like always involved. We made a ton of content together, but like he just wasn't ever like on his phone as much, but he also was like going to school to play baseball as well. So he was like a year behind me. So at that point I was already fully bought in, and he was going to chase his dream. But this is where it gets cool is, so sophomore year he like pitches, does okay, but like had a much better freshman year. He's kind of like, like, what do I do here now too, right? And his parents are like my second parents, like we're super close. And I remember Josh telling me that like he came back home and his dad was like, you know what, like it might be time to like maybe try to work with Josh, like let's do that, like do it. And like, listen, a lot of parents are very like, I want security. So like for them to say that to him, that like they believed in me and what I was doing, now I was getting serious. And like, again, we hadn't done, I don't remember exactly what year that is, but maybe it was 2018. So we were just on our first path to doing $1 million that year. I think the year before we had done in 2017, like 650,000 or something like that. So like it was getting legit. I was 19 years old. I had my own apartment. I bought my own car. I was paying for it all by myself. So I think his parents were like, am I making money? Like go work. So yeah. So Josh just, came on as like jack of all trades, and now he does all the video and content. He's super important because like I'm more on the business side now, and like, and obviously some of the branding, but like he's like the face and the direction. It used to be me. Now more people know him as the face than they do for me because he runs the TikTok and he's all over Instagram, the way it should be. But yeah, like honestly, hiring friends, and you said like maybe the most talented, but like I believe my team is the most talented, and even if they're not the most talented, they're the most hardworking people. They are willing to learn. From there, like even Kyle, like who does some stuff with us, and Connor, who does some stuff with us still. I DM'd them on Instagram because they were making cool videos. Kyle ended up working for me. I flew them out to my parents' house. They never met him in my entire life. They flew from Oregon. I went to the kid's wedding. I was just with Connor in Arizona. Like we're still friends, and it's like super cool that we built people because people believed in BL and they believed in like me because they always see how hard I work. Like this is my life, man. Like working for me is fun. Like I'm sure you feel the same way too. It's not work. So like on a Saturday, I could sit around and watch TV, but I'm gonna go to my office and make some stuff happen because that's more fun. So I just want to mention one more person. Obviously, is Dennis. So Dennis came on as a friend referral, and he's like immediately ingrained in the system. Like was put on video right away. Like he does all the operations, the warehousing, the orders, all the other stuff. That's super important. And he's a part of the family, man. So like we have this 5-6 person squad that's just like absolutely incredible. And obviously an extended team of designers who have been there since day one, who I absolutely love. My attorney, my accountant, like it's all super family, man. And it's like a blessing, like I say it every day. I'm super grateful for my team. I'm super grateful for like everything I have because like they just show up every day and like grind, love to work, and like because they believe in it.
Yeah, man, I love that. And I people just kind of like assume that you just hire people and they come to work and then they might go home at night. But like you guys have something so much different. It's so much more authentic. And like, I think that's, I personally think that's why you guys built such an authentic baseball following. I mean, do you think that you always you're always like a little ahead of everyone, right? You're always like a little ahead of the trend, and it feels like your community, as you've grown, a lot of communities kind of dissipate, and you lose kind of that reason that you became such a strong community in the first place. But I feel like you guys are the opposite. Like the bigger you get, I feel like the more in tune with baseball players out there you are. Do you think that's from you? Do you think it's from your team? Do you think it's from making small bets on social media? Do you think it's from Bill? But like, I guess to consolidate the question is like, why and how do you think you've continued to have this awesome community as you've grown so big?
Because you never forget what got you where you are. And like I'm such a believer in that. Like we're nothing. Baseball Lifestyle is such a small company. I'm nothing. Like I'm just a hardworking kid who like did the right thing at the right time and worked hard. So like for me, you don't forget your roots. Like I used to go and I still answer every single DM I possibly can. I still answer I spend 15 to 20 minutes a day. It's on my calendar. It's in my head. I answer as many comments as I can every single day. And because that interaction with that kid builds a deeper following. I know so many of our followers' names because like it's a deeper connection. And I know you do too. Like that's super important. Like as you get bigger and you forget the little guys, you're nobody cares about you anymore. Like Nike's great. You like maybe resonate with Nike, but like, do you know anybody who works there? Do they know your name? No. Like I know all these kids' names. I comment with them all the time. And it's me. I still run the social. That's super important is to be involved. Like we'll go on live and I'll just have kids request in and just hang out. Like this doesn't have to be some high production, so cool brand where like the grid has to look a certain way and like this has to feel this. Like, no, you can come here, consume a ton of content. You can get all your cool apparel, but you also know Josh, other Josh, Melissa, Dennis, Bill, and we're here to like hang out with you. And like that's what it is. And listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. As I've gotten older, it's gotten harder because the kids are still high school kids that are main demographic, I feel like. And they're older because they've grown up like me. But like, how do I don't know what's going on in the high school baseball world anymore. I don't play baseball anymore. Like I'm done. And like, how do you still live a baseball lifestyle without being a baseball player anymore? Like I'm more of I would consider myself honestly more of a business person than a baseball person now. Like I love baseball, but I'm not obsessed with baseball. I'm obsessed with business. Like I read business books. I watch business YouTube videos. I don't watch baseball YouTube videos. Like I don't really care, to be honest. But I take those things and I apply it to what I love, which is still a game of baseball, right? I still love going to a game, hanging out, and like connecting. But it's harder now to connect with kids because I'm getting older. Like it's scary, but like at one point I'm gonna have to fire myself from social media and hire a 16-year-old kid to hop on because I'm gonna say the word drip in 2027 and it's not gonna be cool anymore.
It's true. I mean, just to kind of piggyback on that, like I get exactly where you're coming from. Like I had a career too in baseball, and when I left, I was like, I'm gonna focus on plate crate and same thing. Like this is what I took the same little guy mentality that you have, which is super important, right? Or I mean, it's not really even that important. It's just kind of what both of us were born with. We're kind of the little guys. We're the second baseman, the shortstop. We had this chip on our shoulder. Like I really resonated with you when you said that. I'm glad you were so honest about that too, because a lot of people don't talk about that. But being the smallest kid on your team for forever is a real thing. I was that kid. You were that kid. So like that passion, and not even just that passion, but just kind of that like you set it. It's a little bit different, but like you're applying that to business. It used to be baseball, now it's business. So you had your baseball career, you grew your business. You're undeniably like in a great spot right now, and I know you're going to keep growing because you've kind of figured out this format to do it. But take us through, like, we hear so much about successes, and we hear so much about kind of like this road of like all success, but take us through like your failure, right? What's your biggest failure? Like that, to me, that kind of like shows your character the most, is like you went through so many ups and downs with BL 101 this whole time. And it may seem like such a straight path, but it really wasn't. And I know there was these peaks and valleys, but like, take us through like a big valley. Like what was one where you were just kind of questioning BL 101?
Yeah. I mean, where I was questioning it. I mean, I listen, I always believed in it. But that valley was actually more recent than people probably think. That valley was end of 2019, beginning of 2020, where you grow so fast, which we are, excuse me. We still are growing super fast. Um, but you make, as a business person, as 19 or 20 or 21, and Bill, and none of us has built businesses to this volume before, you make a lot of expensive mistakes. And you're laughing because and like you're trying to tweet things, you're growing so fast, you're spending all this money, and like, listen, we weren't in like a bad place, but like we were not in a good place where you get to you get to a new hitting coach and he tells you your swing is jacked up, you got to change your whole swing. And we got to somebody's like, you're jacked up, you got to change what you're doing. And like, again, I'm fully transparent in everything that we do, and like as a business and as me and as BL, but like we were still growing at a super fast rate, but we weren't doing the right things we weren't doing the right training, we weren't doing the right things behind the scenes. Not that we were doing bad things, we just didn't know what we were doing. So it was like, you got to change that. And I was in a super spot where like, I was like, I gotta, chill out. I gotta, like, I can't do this or I can't do that. Or like, we can't just, jump through this hoop because we feel like we can. No, we gotta like get on this journey. And when I tell you that like 2020 was the most, I know for a lot of people it was such a terrible year, but like for us, it was the most amazing year like we've ever had and I've ever personally had, because I like was super focused on like this every single day, and like not like worrying about the future, just like, hey, we got to fix today, which could fix tomorrow. And we just took the right steps, man. Like we took the right steps. And but that journey was super hard. Like you've been through on business, and like you feel like you're getting rejected by colleges, you're getting rejected by schools, like you're getting rejected by this, by that, by this, or sales, or whatever the case may be, right? And it was just like a hard understanding of like realizing like this isn't easy. Like we can grow all this, but like making a sustainable business model that's profitable, that's growing, is like, it's not easy. Everyone thinks that I make millions of dollars a year, and like all the kids from our high school think that I make millions of dollars a year and all this stuff. And it's like, guys, like, yes, am I very much ahead of a 23-year-old? Yes, but like I went through the shit, like, excuse my language, like I've not I've not, there's been months, you haven't paid yourself as an owner. You put other people first. You've leveraged a lot of stuff in terms of risk that you could be doing other things. So learning those mistakes, like I said, that was like a one thing that's because it's recent, but like it's all those different journeys of like I ordered way too many shirts, or I was in a wrong fulfillment center that I spent way too much money on and I should have been doing it myself. Like we've all been there, I've had to fire employees because they weren't the right fit. And like it's not just one thing, but like that's just the most recent one, but like you learn so much through that. And I know it's so like corny, but like it's so true. Like baseball, you learn so much from when you're 0 for 4 and how you get out of it and how you mentally can be better. How do you take your 0 for 5 slump and not turn it into an 0 for 20 slump? And like same thing with business. How do you not let a couple of bad days or months turn into a bad year? Because that's can spiral fast. So like, yeah, dude, it was a grind. But I look back at the end of 2020 in December, and it was like it was the most like fulfilling year of my entire life, because we're in such an amazing spot now. Like we're in such an amazing spot because it takes so long to learn this. And from a business side of things, like there's a guy that I follow, and he's like, year one, like you have no idea what you're doing. Year two, you kind of a little bit, no idea what you're doing. Year three, you start figuring it out a little bit. Year four, all right, we're getting there. And then year five, it's like boom, rocket ship. You know what you're doing. And like this is year like 4 or 5 for us. 4 or 5, and like, yeah, that was the exact journey, man. Like you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
How do you go from $0 to 1.3, $1.4 million, or yeah, in that 2019, in like 2 or 3 years, and you've never done it before? How do you do that? So that's like the journey, and that's like so fun. But yeah, dude, it's now it's like we're kind of figuring things out.
Yeah, man, look, like when you look back at all of those like valleys that we're talking about, like and then you're so proud of them when you're on the other side. You know what I mean? Like you can look and be like, you know what? Like the goal is to get through part of this journey. Not like you're not always just growing. Sometimes you're just like, I need to stay afloat for a little bit. And I mean, I had to laugh during some of that because it's just like it hits home. You know, I changed the word expensive mistakes. I just changed the word to lessons. I was like, you know what, we had a lot of expensive and I mean, it doesn't help the bank account, but it helps my mindset a little bit. But I think it's so important that people know that it's just not a linear journey at all.
Yeah. And it's also like people think it's all glamorous, right? Like, so like this is also 2019, 2020. So New Year's, so on Christmas, we were going to this event. We are going to an event on a day after Christmas and then the day after New Year's. And this has been a good event for us. We're gonna, we're setting up in person. We're gonna do this whole thing, and it'll be good for us because January is a slower month for us. Like I'm sure for everybody, right? After the holidays, baseball's not there, so like we got to go make some extra money just because. Why not?
Yep.
So Christmas, and I'm Jewish, so it's not a big deal, but still a holiday that everyone's here. I'm flying, to Texas on Christmas Day. And then on New Year's, I'm flying to California. I'm flying across the country from New York to California. And at 9 o'clock West Coast time, so midnight, just turned New Year's, New York, and everyone's going crazy. I'm waiting for a 5.5 foot tent that I got to pick up from the airport. Then I got to put in a rental car, drive 40 minutes to my hotel, wake up the next day, go pick my other employee up from the airport, and then go to a baseball tournament. And guess what? Honestly, that tournament was not great for us. It just was not the turnout that we expected. So I didn't make any of the money that I thought I was going to be. And I missed all of that. I was gone for 2 weeks. And then you turn back and you're like, I just chugged a 5.5. And those tents are like, what I'm talking about. They're not great. They're bigger than me. And like, so like that's things that people don't see, And like it's not all glamorous, but like there is times where it's super cool, like going to hang out with pro guys that I consider my friends now and staying at their house and literally just consider them my friends. So there's everything, but like you said, the valleys like that, man, like you never forget that stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So I mean, we talked about your success, we talked about some failures. I mean, last question, and then we'll go into some rapid fire questions, then we can wrap it up. But I mean, this whole podcast, like you've really explained where you started, how you built it, the failures that you've had, the people along the way. When you look back at that photo of the shirts and the hats in your bedroom, like take us through how you feel.
I said this yesterday to Josh. We came from Arizona. So again, I went to Arizona, by the way. I left at 5 a.m. East Coast, 5 a.m. in the morning East Coast time. Didn't get to Arizona until 4:30 Arizona time. Didn't go to sleep until 12 a.m. Arizona time because I was getting work done because I had to. Flew back home the following day at 3 o'clock Arizona time. Didn't get back home till midnight on Wednesday, like literally yesterday. So like still doing the same thing,
Yeah.
And me and Bill talk about this all the time. We had an office that were painting, and me and Bill are sitting there at 6 o'clock on a Saturday painting. Like, still do the same thing.
Someone has to paint it. Someone's got to hang. Someone's got to put the desks together. Like
that's it, man. But so when I go back to and I can't say what we did in Arizona, but you'll see it happen very soon, and it's super exciting and it's super cool and it's a first for us. I flew back and I landed. Well, I was flying. I was coming down to Atlanta on our layover, and I was like almost in tears, bro. I was like, this is crazy. Like, if you would have told the 15-year-old me that I'd be flying back from what I just did, like, this is so cool. Like, who gets to say that they did what, like, they do all this? And then I land and I'm talking to Josh. I'm like, this is wild. Like, this whole thing doesn't feel real. And that's scary sometimes because you're like, that's like your one thing. And if you lost it, you kind of feel like, what else is there? But like, I'm sure every baseball player feels like that when they hang up the spikes. But like, dude, when I look back at that photo, it's like, this is crazy. Like, everything that had to happen right, but also you hard work. But like, I could have just given up and I was in college and never posted and just like logged out of my Instagram account and forgot the password and never logged back in, and that was it. But like, the anxiety in me is I've always been super anxious about that stuff. So I knew everything and I've been making sure that like, whatever, but like, what could have been if I wasn't maybe an anxious person, I could have logged out of my, this, and it could have been gone. Like, it's just all that stuff. Right. So I think back on it and I'm like, it's just wild. Like, I there's nothing to put into words, which is why you have to work super hard at it every day, because it's like, I've been given this gift, like, why am I not going to work hard at it? So yeah, long story short, when I look back at that picture, man, I'm like, what, like, this is crazy, but I've always had that belief in myself, and like, I'll continue to have that. And that's really when I look back at that's what I think about.
Dude, I love it. I'm just glad you took that photo. I think it's, you said you wish you documented more along the way. At least you have that photo to look back on. And
I thought it was so cool. I thought I was the man.
I remember the day you posted that, like in real time. Like I was on your Instagram account. I was like, he's starting an apparel shop. That's great. He's gonna crush it because they have this awesome whole level than anyone ever thought you would, and you deserve credit, all the accolades. It's and Bill too, and everyone that's helped along the way. But I love looking at that photo. No matter, like, it doesn't have to be your company. People look at that photo and it's inspiring, no matter who you are. If you own a company, if you want to be better at baseball, if like checkers is what you're into, and you look at that photo and you just see what this consistency and drive and the little man mentality, which a lot of people don't talk about, where it gets you. If you just do it for 5 years, 6 years in a row, if you just keep pushing forward, it's like, it's inspiring no matter what you do or who you are. And it's like,
my goal, man, is to build this so big that photo is like sitting there in the office, or like sitting there when you walk in, all blown up, and like the tour guide's like, this is what the third generation Josh did when he was 15 years old. Like, that's what, because when I went to Easton, I kind of got that experience. They're like, this is what when he started, this is why he started. He had a bat and whatever. It's like, maybe that's what this is.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, how cool would that be, right? Like, that thing's blown up. I'm way past gone. My great grandson's like showing people around, and like, it's just like that. Why not?
I mean, this $1 million company used to be this like crazy dream and this like crazy fantasy when you're 15 years old, and now it happened, and then you realize, you know what? Like, there's a lot of room left. So no one's gonna know. I mean, time will tell, but we know you're going to keep posting and keep DMing people back the whole way. So, and we're all following along, but I have a few rapid fire questions, and then we can tie it up. I'll hand the mic over to you. I want everyone to go. I mean, I'm sure everyone that's listening to this has either heard of you or, but there's other places to follow BL 101, and you don't make sure that I give you time to properly shut that out. But yeah, let's go into some rapid fire questions. I always preface this with, there's no time limit on this. If you want to take a while to explain one of these, that's great. If you want to wrap it up in a couple sentences, that's cool too. So the first one is, what's something that you've changed your mind on in the past year?
Ooh, changed my mind on, like, mindset or just mind in general?
Either or.
All right. I didn't mean to complicate your question. Oh man, changed my mind on. Well, I mean, I change my mind every day about what we're dropping and when we're dropping it. So like, apparel all the time, clothing stuff happens, changes all the time. Like, oh, let's move this and move that all the time. So, and post too. Like, I'm changing my mind about everything we're doing, honestly, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what's cool. And I'll go into that too, because like, we're super nimble. So like, if I want to change my 7:00 post because I feel like it, I change it. If I don't like how it's going, I change it. If I don't like the clothing, I change it. Like, so I'm changing my mind every day in terms of that stuff. But in terms of my mindset and growing there, like, I've really become super like structured on, like, I don't let anybody in my, and I think that's what COVID and quarantine helped too. Like, dude, I'm up at 6 a.m. I'm working out, I'm journaling, I'm writing what I'm grateful for, I am mapping out my week, I'm mapping out my day, I'm reading, I'm learning. And like, I never read a book in high school. And my parents used to make fun of me. You never picked up a book. My sister and my mom. I read at least 1 to 2 books a month now. So like, my mind, I feel like from my mindset standpoint of like being super like structured, like really helps me like get to the next level. Because that's the only way you're gonna get there, is by being structured. You can't be going. I'm 23 years old. If I'm going out to the bars or the clubs or hanging out with people that are not like-minded focused, I'm gonna be where they're at. And like, nothing wrong with what they're doing, but that's not where I want to be. So like, my mindset of like structure, and then on the BL side, I'm changing my mind every day. So
silver lining of COVID, I guess.
Yeah.
So you started BL when you were 15. If you could go back, give your 15-year-old self advice, what advice would you give him?
Just, I mean, I think there was times I'm sure I doubted it, and I'm sure, like, because I remember there's times I doubted baseball, but I would just say, like, trust me, like, because I was never super patient. I'm still not patient, but it's like, trust me, like, when you're older, you're gonna appreciate everything you're doing for yourself now. But I also feel like the older voice inside of my head that I would be telling myself was what my parents and Bill were. So like I feel like they were my voices, as crazy as that sound. But I would just tell myself like just trust the process, keep going, be patient. Um, and you're gonna get to where you're gonna want to be.
Mm-hmm. It's great advice. Just staying on that theme, what's the best advice you've ever received? It could be baseball, business, like anything. Is there a piece of advice that just kind of sticks with you?
I think from my parents and everybody else, it's just like believe in yourself, like stay in your own in your own tunnel, like don't let any outside factors get to you. Especially when I was younger, like I was super at first, I was super what's the word? Like I was super like I didn't like being small. I didn't like being the small kid. I was embarrassed by it. Everyone would pick you up in high school and you think you're this little cute kid and that's what you were. So like, but same thing in baseball, right? Hey, you baseball lifestyle, this is stupid. What are you doing this for? So I think somebody tell me was like believe in yourself and like, you're doing the right thing. I think that's super important. And I always say anytime kids reach out or Instagram or whatever, like, or I give anybody advice, it's like, if you believe in something truly, like you can make it happen. Like just believe in yourself and again, shut out every single outside factor that you possibly can.
Yeah, it's awesome. Last question. Billboard, right? You have a billboard, it reaches billions of people, hundreds of millions of people, just like a lot of people. Nothing commercial on it, so it can't be about, BL 101. Just a message you want to get across to the world. What would you put on that billboard?
Keep going.
Keep going. Short and sweet.
Keep going, man. Because it's a journey. Like this is the fun stuff, like me and Bill talk about all the time, like Black Friday, what it used to be versus Black Friday, what it is now. And like the numbers are much bigger, but like what the anticipation and the hype up and like how you feel about it, like it's just another day now. And like Bill goes like, are you gonna miss this? He said that to me last year. He's like, you gonna miss this? I'm like, miss what? He's like, this, like the startup grind, the journey. Like at some point, this is gonna be that, 10, 15, 20, $30 million company. Like I truly believe that. And like I'm gonna miss, the days where I was posting or the days that I was doing X. But when I say keep going is because like today on, in February, like there's days where things suck. And you're like, you know what, I just gotta keep going because like I know that thing's there. Like I can't let today affect my tomorrow. But yeah, keep going, man. Like that's super important to me. There's gonna be times you fall, but you gotta get back up and just keep running.
Love it, man. I love it. Well, that's all the questions I've had. I'm going to hand the mic over to you. Just, where can people, if you don't know Baseball Lifestyle 101, where can people follow you personally? How can people get involved?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like you said, Baseball Lifestyle 101 on Instagram, search up Baseball Lifestyle, should pop right up. Closing in on 600,000 now. It's crazy the growth right now. It's crazy right now. I'm not gonna lie. Follow us on Instagram. TikTok's a huge one. Please follow us on TikTok at BSBL101. Big on TikTok now. And then our website's bl101.com. We got everything there. Bunch of swag. You can rep the brand, live the lifestyle. And then my personal Instagram is jshap101. That's really everywhere you guys can follow me. Appreciate this man Josh for having me on as always. This has been fun. I always love talking about this stuff, and yeah, man, you've been crushing it too. So I'm super proud of everything you guys have done over there, and maybe we got something in the works in the future. We'll see. I can't wink. I'm terrible at winking.
That was good. A little hint, but dude, thank you so much for being on. I'm so happy we got to finally just have like a conversation, press record. I'm super grateful for everything that you've done and just admired you guys and everyone at BL101. I just can't thank you enough. And, just thanks for being on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.